It's day 504. It's also September 21st, 2020, and we are in Decatur, Nebraska. You ever wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what am I doing? And more importantly, why? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name's Craig, and this is my story. A story about life. Life out there. For visuals while listening, to watch the video versions of this podcast, or even just to say hey, check us out on our website at lifeoutthere.me. Pulling out of Spirit Lake this morning, the excitement of fall. A little chill in the air. The kind that whispers, the season is changing. But the sun was shining, and it felt like the perfect day to be on the road. Heading south seemed right. And with Iowa's Great Lakes in the rear view, we wound our way through rolling farmland south on US 71. Surrounded by those endless September fields of corn, soybeans. Just like the drive up here, reminding me again how those Iowa Great Lakes really are an oasis plopped right in the middle of America's farmland. And crossing into Nebraska, the landscape seemed to stretch out wider. The hills softened, the fields opened up. And soon enough, the Missouri River appeared, rolling along, just like every other time we've crossed paths with it. And I couldn't help but think back to Craig, Montana. All those mornings along the river there. Same river, different place, different feel. But always that deep connection to its history, its beauty, its persistence. It's the longest river in the United States, stretching over 2,540 miles from its headwaters in Montana, winding its way through 7 states before joining forces with the Mississippi near St. Louis, and then makes its way through some 10 more states before entering the Gulf of Mexico. Literally, a water highway that can take you from the heart of the continent all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. It's no wonder we've crossed paths with this river in so many places. And also, no surprise, that this river had played a major role in the development of not only the United States, but in the lives of Native Americans and explorers for centuries before. And we'd made it barely just 100 miles south when we rolled into Decatur. Stopping and spending some time here was a no-brainer once we learned there was an RV park offering up yet another opportunity to hang out on the banks of this river. And after a quick walk with Dougie along the river, we'd dig in and start learning about another small town and another story. This place has seen the story of even the land unfold. First, millions of years ago, this entire region, this entire part of the continent covered by an inland sea, leaving behind the rich soils and rolling plains that we see today. But then, the Ice Age came, carving valleys, laying down loess soil, shaping the path of this very Missouri River itself. The Omaha tribe would thrive here first, tied to the river for food, trade, and culture. And when Lewis and Clark came through in 1804, they met a people who already had trade networks stretching hundreds of miles. And by 1806, fur traders had arrived. Fontenelle's Post sat not far from here, named for Lucien Fontenelle. And that name, it hit me. Our stop in Fontenelle, Wyoming, back on the banks of that reservoir with the same name, Turns out they are connected. That Wyoming spot named for Lucian's son, Logan Fontenelle. A thread of history tying even our travels together. By 1856, Decatur was officially founded and named for Stephen Decatur, a War of 1812 hero. The river promised opportunity, transport, rich farmland, connection to the Midwest. For a time, it delivered. Steamboats carried grain and livestock. Railroads followed. The town grew. And then, that familiar story. Decatur felt the changes of time. Larger cities rose, industry shifted, and what could have been the booming hub instead became something quieter. Not gone, just enduring. Today, about 400 people call it home. Still farming, still fishing, still building a life by the river. And this Missouri River has always been Decatur's backbone and its challenge. It brought trade, life, and beauty, but also floods. As recently as 2011, water pushed its way into the town, forcing evacuations. And the town rebuilt, just as it always has. As for us, Decatur gave us Beck Memorial Park, this campground with a front row seat to the river. The first night, we landed near the entrance. But when a riverside site opened, we were there in minutes. Camp set, chairs out, Missouri rolling by. And I'm not even sure what to call it anymore. Indian summer? Dog days of summer? Or just fall? But whatever it is, we'll take it. Perfect weather. Long walks along the river. Wandering the quiet streets. Even an afternoon sitting by the boat launch. Watching a steady parade of boats slide in and out of that water. Clearly, we'd landed on a popular stretch of this river. A stretch that had its own personality. In Montana, the river felt smaller, shallower. Fishermen and waders, little boats drifting downstream. Here, feels bigger, deeper, faster. Boats of every kind buzzing across the surface. Same river, different face. And with all that time by the water, my mind started churning again. That's what the river does, I guess. Gives space for thought. For me, those thoughts circled back, as they so often do, to this pandemic we're all living through. For a while, I'd pushed it aside. Out here, away from the crowds. No masks, no distancing, no daily headlines about ventilators and death tolls. It felt like a different reality. Almost untouched. Decatur seemed quiet. But was it truly untouched? Or was it the quietness itself an answer? I turned on the news for the first time in days. And no, it hadn't gone away. Far from it. Looking back, my mind swirled around the differences in how differently countries around the world have handled COVID. South Korea, New Zealand, Austria. Quick, decisive, transparent, and effective. Others struggled. And by now, the U.S. picture was becoming painfully clear. South Korea and the U.S. both reported their first cases on January 20th of 2020, this year. From there, the paths would split wide. South Korea moved fast. Testing, tracing, nationwide communication. And by September, they've reported fewer than 24,000 cases and just over 400 deaths in a country of 51 million. The U.S.? Delays, inconsistent messaging, fragmented responses. And by September, over 6 million cases, more than 180,000 deaths. Same starting line, very different outcomes. For me, I guess it comes down to two things: leadership and communication. In a crisis, decisive, transparent leadership saves lives. Clear, consistent messaging builds trust and guides action. And without those, confusion fills the gaps. And we've all seen where that leads. The numbers are staggering. South Korea, less than 0.001% of their population lost. The U.S., closer to 0.05. Roughly 400 times higher? I don't think it's about blame, at least not entirely. It's about learning, about asking, what could we do differently? What do we demand from leaders when the next crisis comes? Spend some time reading through numbers like that, turning it all around in my brain. I almost felt like I had a headache. My brain was heavy. I closed the laptop, grabbed Dougie's leash. Another walk along the Missouri, the same river that's carried explorers, tribes, traders, floods, and life itself through this place. Today, just provided the perfect place for a dog and his human to just soak it all in. And imagine all that has gone before us here. I think we both cleared our heads. Dougie's always up for a walk. Seems he can find fascination in most any scenery. I guess Decatur reminds us that history isn't just something you read. It's happening right here, right now. Quiet streets, steady river, and a small town still standing. We spent 9 days in Decatur, long enough to feel its rhythm, and long enough to spot something else on a map, just 20 miles away. Another Craig, Nebraska. Tomorrow we'll drive those 20 miles. And I wonder what we'll learn there. This thing called life comes with a lot of rules. Maybe it's time to break a few. Because you can. No, seriously. You can.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.